that I wouldn't notice, and I would cook one up and eat it. Welcome back to another episode of Sunday Storytime with me here on the red sofa. And as I said, there are going to be some Storytime videos eventually where I'm not going to be here on the red sofa, but at the moment I am. And today I'm going to tell you a story that a lot of people I know or have worked with, especially the kids that I've worked with, they all know this story and they know this specific quote about it. And I could call probably like 120 kids that I've worked with over the years and begin this phrase and they would be able to finish it immediately, even though I haven't talked to a lot of them for a long time. So it's gonna be the story about how my evil, wicked stepsister roommates at Disney World ruined my life. In order for you to really understand this story, I don't know why I'm laughing so much already. I guess I just think it's funny that I'm making a whole video about this phrase. As most of you know, back in my early 20s, I worked at Disney and I made some story times about that, or a storytime video about that, and I've got a lot of other fun experiences from that time, and today I'm going to tell you about this. And in order to get it all built up correctly, I need to tell you some other information. I had never lived that far away from home before, and I had never lived any place besides my parents' house or a dorm at college, or the summer before this when I was working at Six Flags in Chicago, which I also made a Storytime movie about, or Storytime video about. I was living with the parents of a friend of mine. So I had never really lived not on college or not with adults. I know that sounds silly because when you're 20, that should be you're an adult, but I just had never really lived on my own yet. And I was, I guess you could say, quite naive because, as I said in the Storytime video, I flew down to Florida, I got the contract offer, and I organized it all with my school, but I wasn't part of the official college program, so I didn't have any place to live. And I didn't have, the money or the time to fly down to Florida for a week just to look at apartments and stuff like that. That would have not been possible. And Disney at the time had a cast member newspaper. I want to say it's called the Eyes and Ears. Any Disney cast members from back then or from now, does it still exist? And if it does, is it called Eyes and Ears? I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. And they had classified ads in the back of people looking for roommates and things like that. And so through this paper, I got hooked up with another guy who was going to be starting at the same time, and he had a lead on an apartment. And I was, like I said, I was young and naive, and he was also young and naive. He was from someplace in Ohio, and sight unseen, I don't think we really even had seen pictures or anything. I mean, this was before the internet was like it is now, so it wasn't like there were ads or anything like that. And I honestly don't know how he found out about this place, but this is becoming a whole different story. Anyways, we were supposed to move down there together and move into this apartment, and when I drove down there with my mom in my car and all my stuff, we got to this place, and I realized before we even turned the corner to get to the actual address that it was not going to work out. It was in a neighborhood that I was just not comfortable with, and when I saw then the building that it was going to be in, I was like, no way, not going to happen. So my dreams of working at Disney almost died right at that point because I didn't have anything else lined up. I didn't have any place to live. My mom and I ended up checking into the All-Star Resort at Disney, that's right. I mean, not like there would have been any cheaper hotels to stay at. That was kind of a silly move. But I just had, I was so excited to be down in Florida and to be, almost working for Disney that I thought, it'll be fun. We'll just go stay here for a couple nights. And so we moved in there, and I tried to sort of find other options. And somebody who I had met through a friend, but never in real life, was working at Disney at the time, and I decided to get in touch with him to see if maybe he could help me. And I'm gonna change all the names in this video, just because I guess that's fair, and I'll call him Daniel. So, Daniel I had talked to on the phone a few times because he was friends of a good friend of mine, and we had we were all part of this roller coaster enthusiast club, and we had talked about roller coasters and things like that. And I knew that he worked at Disney, and that was fascinating to me. I called him and told him my situation. I said I had an apartment lined up, and it didn't work out, and now I'm staying in the All-Star Resort with my mom and trying to quickly come up with a different solution. And if he knew anybody or had any leads on apartments or knew anybody looking for roommates, and he said he would let me know, or he would feel around and get back to me later. So I think actually later that night, he actually called back and he said, Morgan, listen, I have a solution for you. One of our roommates is gone almost all the time. And so we thought, just to sort of help you out of your predicament, we could offer you our, like basically his room for, I think they gave me a limit of like 3 months. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And I was like, hallelujah! You know, it was a perfect solution for me. Not only did I have a place to live, but it was also with somebody that I kind of knew, and I thought, this is gonna be great. That's what I thought. And so, let me just say it in advance. Of course, it was really nice of them to make these arrangements to sort of save my, my dream of working at Disney, because I couldn't have done it if I didn't have any place to live, and I needed to find some place really quick because I couldn't afford to obviously stay in the All-Star Resort. That was stupid. So let me say that in advance. Of course, I am thankful for them presenting this opportunity. The fact that we didn't get along, I don't know, that, has nothing to do with that. So I moved into this sort of like extra room, sort of like this room that a guy was living in, and yeah, he was literally never there. I think the whole like 3.5, it ended up turning out to be like 4 months that I stayed there. I think I saw him like 2 times, and it wasn't a problem at all. I mean, most of the stuff in the room was his, and there were also boxes and things in the room, so it wasn't even really like I had my own room. I basically was living in a storage room with a bed in it. But, hey, I was working at Disney, so I was happy about that. And Daniel and his boyfriend, I'm gonna call him Sam, they shared a room, and then there was one other guy living in the apartment, and I honestly don't remember his name, so I'm just gonna call him Frank. Frank had the other room, so it was a 3-bedroom apartment. There were 2 bathrooms, and Frank and I shared 1 bathroom, and I almost said his real name, Sam and Daniel, they had their own bathroom, like in their bedroom. And Frank was, I think he had previously worked at Disney, but at the time, I think he was a flight attendant. So he was gone quite often as well. So basically, that bathroom that we shared, it was kind of like my bathroom because he was also very rarely there. All right, so I moved in and things started out fine, but I quickly realized that it was mostly Daniel's idea for me to move in, and that Sam and Frank, they were kind of like, well, we're helping somebody out, but we really kind of thought it was nice when it was just us. And that got worse over time, and I can give you some examples. They were all a little bit older than I was and had a little bit more experience. I'm pretty sure they were all already done with college. They all had their degrees, and like I said, they had all worked at Disney, and Daniel and Sam were still working at Disney, and Frank was doing something else at the time. But they were much more like further advanced in life than I was. I was still in college, and I had just turned 20, and like I said, I had never really lived completely on my own before. And there were a lot of things that I just didn't know yet. And so on the one hand, it was kind of nice to be living with these like older guys, but they were not happy in the role of being like helpful aunts. But wait a second. in addition to being gay, which was cool with me, they were mean. They were evil, actually. Nowadays you would call them evil queens, and in fact I started calling them my wicked stepsisters because there were 3 of them and they were just mean to me. And I have some examples. So I was really annoying to them, I guess you could say. They just were not having me always asking questions and always needing directions and being needed to, you know, remind me about certain things. And that really got on their nerves really quickly. And, you know, I guess I can understand that. They didn't want me living there. They were helping me out. And then I moved in and was annoying, I guess you could say it. So, I mean, I know that part of this is my fault. However, some of the things they did and some of the things they said and the way that they treated me was just not cool. So here's an example. They started to do like really mean things. I was a vegetarian at the time, and that was something that they didn't understand. I mean, I'm still a vegetarian, but at the time I already was following a vegetarian diet, and that was something they didn't understand, and they were constantly ridiculing me about it. And I had things, you know, I would go out and buy like veggie burgers and veggie chicken patties and veggie chicken nuggets and things like that. And they literally took, I had bought a thing of frozen vegetarian chicken patties, and they were in the freezer. And one day I went and was going to make myself one for lunch, took them out, pulled out the, you know, they were like wrapped in plastic, and I pulled them out and I realized that my evil roommates had taken the vegetarian chicken patties out and replaced them with real chicken patties with the hopes that I wouldn't notice and I would cook one up and eat it. That's like the level that they stooped to. And, you know, even though I was high maintenance, I just feel like that's not cool. You know what I mean? Not cool. And so now I'm getting to like the highlight of it. Daniel had a dog, and I am not a dog person. I'm an animal lover, but I'm a cat person. And this dog was a very nice dog, very well behaved, but it was not my dog. And I'm not a dog person, and when I moved into the apartment, the dog was not there. He came like a month later or something. And all of a sudden, this dog was the responsibility of all of us in the apartment and not just Daniel. And that was something that I wasn't prepared to do. And of course, you know, you could say, well, they were doing me a big favor by letting me live there, and that's true. However, I was paying rent just like the rest of them, and I was paying, as far as I know, just as much rent as they were paying, and I was living, like I said, in their storage room and had really no place for myself. So it was already a little bit unfair. The problem with this dog was none of our work schedules really like matched up, and so the dog would be alone at home for too long and had to go to the bathroom. And the place that the dog chose to go to the bathroom was always in my bathroom. I call it my bathroom because, like I said, Frank was gone very often. And so I started coming home and the dog had peed or pooped in my bathroom. And I had either the choice of cleaning it up myself, even though it wasn't my dog and I thought that was gross, or waiting until Daniel came home and asking him to clean it up. And Daniel was really cool about it. He was very embarrassed and was always really good at cleaning it up. But then he started to also not really follow up on it. I think he was also getting frustrated with the dog. I mean, I was there for the Christmas season, and Christmas was coming closer and closer, and he was working in the resorts, like the hotels, and working like crazy overtime, and just was really exhausted. And so he also, got lazy with cleaning up after the dog. And so one time I also decided I'm not cleaning it up this time. I've had enough. And so I remember, like, let's say like on a Monday it happened, and when Sam came home, I said, Sam, do you know when, no, Daniel came home and I said, Daniel, do you know when Sam's gonna be here? Because the dog crapped in my bathroom again, and I'm sorry, but I'm not cleaning it up anymore. And Sam was not a fan of mine, and he was like, well, he's working really long hours. And so I just sort of let it be, and I let it sit there, which is also stupid. And I thought, well, he'll be back tonight sometime, or maybe I'll see him in the morning. And the next morning, I had to get up early and go to the park. I'm sure I had some sort of character greeting or something that I had to be there really early for. And when I came home that night, it was all still there. And I thought, how could this be that nobody is bothered by the smell or the fact that it's there and nobody cleans it up? And I mean, I could have said the same thing about myself, but I was like trying to prove a point. So went to bed, got up, went to work again really early in the morning, left it all sitting there. I mean, by this time it's all like dried and yucky. I came home that afternoon, and I remember this very specifically, and they were all three sitting on the couch watching, I don't know, let's say Friends or something like that. I don't know. They were all three sitting on the couch watching television. And I thought, okay, good. They're all home. There's no reason why it should still be in the bathroom. And I went to my room, threw my stuff on my bed or whatever, went to the bathroom, and it was still there. And I was just done with it. And the events that happened next are so clear in my head, and they have given birth to this phrase that, like I've said, so many people who know me or that I've worked with know this and say this to me all the time. And like I said, I can remember it almost like it was yesterday. You guys, turn off the TV. I need to talk to you. Fine. What? Daniel, your dog crapped in my bathroom 2 days ago, and it's still sitting in there, and I'm not cleaning it up. I'm done. So can you please stop watching Friends for a second and just go in there and clean up after your dog? That'd be really great. Oh, really? Well, you know, if you don't like it, you could always go sleep in a hotel.
Yes, they literally told me if I didn't want to clean up the dog crap, I should just move out and stay in a hotel.
That's the story of my evil, I call them my wicked stepsisters, my evil wicked stepsisters in Orlando, and it was because of that, actually, that I guess I kind of decided I didn't want to stay in Orlando for longer than I did. And of course, I could have found someplace else to live. I mean, by that time I had met other people, and I had some friends that I work with who I'm actually still in touch with today, one or two of them. And I don't know, but for whatever reason, that just put such a bad taste in my mouth that I decided not to stay longer at Disney, which I guess is a good thing because who knows, you know, I might not have done all the other great things that I did. So that is my story about my evil, wicked stepsister roommates and how they ruined my life working at Disney. Have you ever had a terrible roommate story? I could tell you about a really terrible roommate story I had when I was living in New York. Save that maybe for another time. But yeah, write me about your roommate situation in the comments below, and be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, even though is Twitter kind of dying? Does anybody even really Twitter anymore? I feel like it's more Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, although I'm not starting Snapchat. But I do have a Patreon, so as I always say, if you want to get some more extra videos and see behind the scenes and give me a little tip, you know, like in a tip jar, then you can do that at patreon.com/veryunofficial. I'm Morgan, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.